Hello and welcome. I'm Carol from CaroMaths, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about how to manipulate algebraic fractions. And thank you very much to Ross on Instagram for suggesting this topic. As I always say, if there's a topic you'd like me to cover, let me know and I'll be sure to cover it. So in this video we're going to talk about how to add, subtract, multiply and divide algebraic fractions. And I'll show you an example for each case as well. So let's begin. Before we begin, I just want to point out two things. Firstly, manipulating algebraic fractions works in exactly the same way as manipulating normal fractions without letters in, but it just gets a little bit more complicated. And secondly, I want to remind you of some terminology. So in a fraction, the top part is called the numerator and the bottom part is called the denominator. So let's have a look at addition to start with. If you've got a over b plus c over d, how do we add them? We need to make sure that they've got a common denominator. And how do we achieve this? Well, we take a over b and we times it by d, which is the denominator of the other fraction. So we've got a times d over b times d. And then we add the second fraction multiplied by the denominator of the first fraction. So b times c over b times d. And note that we didn't change either of the fractions because we multiplied the top part and the bottom part by the same number or letter. So we could just cancel them and we're back where we started from. But now that we've got the same denominator, we can just add the top parts together and we get a times d plus b times c all divided by b times d. And now let's have a look at an example. I've got y over 3 plus z over 8. So firstly, we need to make sure that the denominators are the same. So we multiply the first fraction, y over 3, by 8, which is the denominator of the second fraction. So we get y times 8 divided by 3 times 8. And then we add the second fraction, z over 8, multiplied by the denominator of the first fraction, which is 3. So we get z times 3 divided by 8 times 3. And now you should be able to see that the denominator is exactly the same, namely 3 times 8 or 8 times 3 is the same as 24. So now we can just add the top parts together to get our final answer, 8y plus 3z all over 24. So now let's have a look at subtraction. It works exactly the same way as addition, but we need to be a bit careful because we've got a minus sign now. So you've got a over b minus c divided by d. And to get the same denominator, the easiest way is to multiply the two denominators together. But we need to be careful because we need to then multiply the top parts by the same number or letter as the bottom part. So we need to make sure that the fraction itself doesn't change. So we've got a over b, so we want to multiply the top and the bottom part by d. So we've got a times d over b times d. And then we take away c over d multiplied by b, the top part and the bottom part. So we've got b times c over b times d. And now you can see we've got bd as the denominator for both parts. And now we can just do the subtraction at the top and divide it by b times d. So we get a times d minus b times c all over b times d. So now let's have a look at an example. I've got 2 over y minus 3z over 4. So our first mission is to make the denominators the same, which we do by multiplying them with each other. But we need to make sure that we multiply the top part accordingly as well to make sure that the fraction itself doesn't change. So we have 2 times 4 over y times 4. And then the second part, we take the second fraction and we multiply it by the denominator of the first fraction. So we've got 3z times y over 4 times y. And now we've got the same denominator, which is 4y. And now we can just do the subtraction on the numerator. So we've got 8 minus 3yz all over 4y. So let's move on to multiplication, which I think is the easiest way of manipulating algebraic fractions, because you don't really have to do very much, you just combine them. So you've got a over b times c over d, and you just multiply the top part together and multiply the bottom parts together. So you get a times c over b times d, and that's it. You might just need to simplify it afterwards, but let's have a look at an example to demonstrate it. The example I've got here is 4 over 3y times 9z over 5. So we just multiply the top parts together and the bottom parts together. So we get 4 times 9z over 3y times 5. And now some eagle-eyed viewers will notice that we can simplify this a little bit. We can cancel the 9 and the 3 because they're both divisible by 3. So if we cancel the 9 and divide it by 3, we're left with a 3. And if we cancel the 3 divided by 3, we're left with a 1. And now we've simplified this, we can reach our final solution, which is 12z over 5y. You could do the simplification right at the end, but I find it easier to do it a step earlier, because then you're dealing with smaller numbers. And now finally, division. Division is quite simple as long as you know which trick to apply, which I'll show you now. So you've got a over b divided by c over d. And you manipulate this, you divide this by, instead of dividing by c over d, you multiply it by flipping the fraction. So you multiply it by d over c. So you've got a over b and then times d over c, and that's called the reciprocal. So d over c is the reciprocal of c over d because it's flipped over. And once you've got it in this form, you do this exactly the same thing as we did for the multiplication. You just multiply the top parts together, multiply the bottom parts together. So we get a times d over b times c, and then we may just need to simplify this a little bit. And let's have a look at an example here. So we've got 5 over y divided by 7 over 2z. So we take 5 over y, and then we multiply it by the fraction which is flipped. So instead of dividing by 7 over 2z, we multiply it by its reciprocal, which is 2z over 7. And now it's exactly the same as a multiplication, or it is a multiplication now. So we can just multiply the top parts together and we can multiply the bottom parts together. So our final answer is 10z over 7y. And that's it for this video. I hope you find it useful. If you do, please like and tell your friends. And like I said at the start, if there's ever a topic you'd like me to cover, something you struggle with or something you find interesting, then do let me know and I'll be sure to cover it. Also make sure that you subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell so you're notified each time I upload a new video, which I do every week. Okay, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.